Hi class, in today's lesson we're going to be talking about dividing fractions. And when you're dividing fractions, the most important thing you need to remember is you always have to find the reciprocal of the second fraction. So you're going to find the reciprocal of the second fraction and you're going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign. So we're going to do number 2 to demonstrate that. So I have 2 divided by 1/2. Now, as we discussed in the previous multiplying fractions video, to change a whole number to a fraction, I just simply put a 1 under it as a denominator. So now I have 2 over 1 divided by 1/2. Whenever we're going to divide fractions, I have to find the reciprocal of the second fraction. And that's basically flipping the fraction over. So instead of 1 over 2, I'm going to make it 2 over 1. I'm going to put the 2 as the numerator and the 1 as the denominator. So I'm basically going to flip it. So if I write it over, I don't do anything to the first fraction. So I'm going to have 2 over 1. And then I'm going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign. And then I'm going to find the reciprocal of 1 over 2. And again, I just flip it. And I'm going to put 2 over 1. And so if I was finding the reciprocal of number 3, I would change that problem to 9 over 1. Change the division sign to a multiplication sign. And then make that 1 over 4, 4 over 1. And that's all you have to remember whenever you're dividing fractions. You change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and then you find the reciprocal of the second fraction, and you just basically flip it upside down. And once you're done with that, you just go ahead and multiply your fraction just like you learned how to multiply in the previous video. So 2 times 2, I always multiply numerator times numerator. That's 4. And then 1 times 1 is 1. And I know 4 divided by 1 or 4 over 1 equals 4. So my answer to number 2 would simply be 4. And that would be my answer to number 2. Now, if I was going to go ahead and work out number 3, that would be 9 times 4, which is 36. And 1 times 1 is 1. So that would be 36 over 1. And I know 36 over 1 equals simply 36 because any number over 1 is that number. Because remember, the fraction line means to divide. So 36 divided by 1 equals 36. And that's all you have to do. So anytime you're going to divide fractions, these are the 2 main steps you must remember. Find the reciprocal of the second fraction, which means you're going to flip the second fraction, not the first one, the second one. You always flip the second one, and then you always change the division sign to a multiplication sign. So we'll go ahead and do number 4. Number 4 is 6 divided by 1/2. Again, I would put a 1 under the 6 because it's a whole number and I want to make it a fraction. So if I'm going to write this over, I would put 6 over 1. Change the division sign to a multiplication sign. And then find the reciprocal of 1/2. I know that would be 2 over 1 because I'm simply just going to flip the fraction upside down, and then I would proceed to multiply. 6 times 2 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. And so I know my answer to number 4 would simply be 12. That's my answer to number 4. And that is all you have to do when you are finding when you're dividing fractions. You find the reciprocal of the second fraction, change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and then work the problem out as like you're multiplying a fraction. Now, if let's say I got an answer of 12. Let's say my answer was 12 over 3. So let's just say and I'm just speaking just in any fraction. I'm not working out a problem. Let's just say if I worked out a division problem of fractions and I got 12 over 3. Well, here you would have to reduce to lowest terms, but anytime you see that your numerator is greater than your denominator, that's called an improper fraction. And anytime you have an improper fraction, you want to change it to a mixed number. And the way you do that is like this. If I have an improper fraction, okay, again, an improper fraction is whenever your numerator is bigger than your denominator. So if I have an improper fraction, I need to divide, because remember, fraction line means to divide. So that would be 12 divided by 3. So I know 3 goes into 12 4 times, because it can't go into 1, but I know that's a multiplication fact or a division fact. 12 divided by 3 is 4. I can go through the long division steps if I want to, and my answer would be 4. So I know 12 over 3 also equals 4, because 12 divided by 3 is 4. So that's what you would do if there was an improper fraction. So let's do an example of a division fraction problem that is going to give you an improper fraction as an answer. Okay, so we're going to go over the problem 5 over 2 divided by 1 over 3. So again, I have to find the reciprocal, so I'm going to do 5 over 2. I don't touch the first fraction. I'm going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and then I'm going to find the reciprocal of 1/3, and that will be 3 over 1. And if I multiply 5 times 3, I get 15. 2 times 1, I get 2, because I just multiply across. And that would give me 15 over 2. Well, 15 over 2 is an improper fraction, because 15 is greater than 2, and 15 is the numerator. And we know normally in a fraction, the numerator is smaller than the denominator, because the numerator is how many parts you have out of all the parts, and the entire parts are the denominator. So if I have 15 over 2, that's an improper fraction. So to reduce this to lowest terms, I have to divide 15 divided by 2, which is right here. Because I know the fraction line means to divide, that would be 15 divided by 2. 2 cannot go into 1, so I can put a 0 here, but I know 2 goes into 15 7 times, and 7 times 2 is 14. I subtract. 15 minus 14 is 1. So I look at my division problem. I know my remainder is smaller than my divisor, and I have a number above every number in the box. So my remainder is 1. Well, how do I write this as a fraction? I put my remainder as my numerator, and my denominator is always my divisor, and it stays the same. Because in the problem, it was 2 before I got ready to simplify, and it's always going to stay 2. So the denominator is always going to stay the same. If I started with 2, it's going to be 2. But my remainder is always going to be the numerator. So my answer would be 7 1/2. So 15 over 2 equals 7 1/2. This is the same thing. So again, this is how I change an improper fraction into a mixed number. That is called a mixed number. Anytime you have a whole number and a fraction together, that is called a mixed number. So this is how you change an improper fraction to a mixed number. So for homework, I want you to complete numbers 10, 11, 12 and 9. I want you to do